Part 25. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 242. Look, it's like this. Kudo Shinichi grabbed the hand of a passerby on the side, and when he held that person's hand, Kudo Shinichi showed a look of surprise on his face. Sir, you must have practiced swordsmanship. At this time, the person who was held by Kudo Shinichi was naturally Syaruo. After he came to the playground, he began to look for Kudo Shinichi's location. Although there are many people in the playground, the gap between passers-by and the protagonist is too great. Syaruo saw Kudo Shinichi, who was dating Xiaolan, almost immediately, and approached him secretly. When Kudo Shinichi shook hands, Syaruo didn't resist at all. That's right, I did practice swordsmanship. I didn't expect you to see it, Syaruo responded with a smile. Ah, that's amazing. How did you reason? Xiaolan asked in surprise when she heard that Kudo Shinichi had reasoned right just by shaking hands. Because there is a thick layer of calluses under the knuckles of this gentleman's palm. This is a characteristic that can only be found when practicing swordsmanship. Kudo Shinichi explained, but for some reason, Kudo Shinichi can always feel a strange feeling from this person. It is a feeling as if shrouded in fog. This is the first time he has heard from someone else. See. However, won't his hands get call used in other jobs or sports? Why are you sure that he has practiced swordsmanship? Xiaolan was still puzzled. Because of the position, where the sword is held, the cocoon there is fixed. Kudo Shinichi frowned and looked at Syaruo, wondering what he was thinking. As expected of a famous high school student detective, but can you deduce what my job is? Syaruo withdrew her hand and asked Kudo Shinichi. You know me? Kudo Shinichi asked when he heard the other party reveal his identity. Syaruo nodded and did not deny it. The high school student detective, Kudo Shinichi, helped the police solve many cases. I heard about it on the news. How about it? Can you deduce my occupation? In fact, Syaruo doesn't know what her current occupation is. Chef? Demon Slayer swordsman? This question is actually a bit difficult for Kudo Shinichi. Xiaolan also looked at Xinyi curiously. She had been hearing the stories about Sherlock Holmes from Xinyi all the time, so she wanted to know if Xinyi could really deduce the occupation of this person in front of her. Your job is? Kudo Shinichi looked Syaruo up and down. Judging from his appearance, the other party should be the same age as himself, and he should still be a student now, but Kudo Shinichi always felt that the other party's temperament was not something that ordinary students could have. Moreover, the other party always gave him a feeling of being out of place in this world, and this feeling puzzled Kudo Shinichi the most. It's not hard to be a great detective. Maybe you haven't heard of my profession. Let me introduce myself here. My name is Syaruo. I'm a mysterious matter handler who specializes in dealing with some special things. Knowing that Kudo Shinichi couldn't reason it out, Syaruo told her own occupation in this world. Mystery handler? What is a mystery? Xiaolan had never heard of this profession, so she asked Syaruo curiously. Mysterious things, there are many mysterious things in this world. In layman's terms, you can use me as an exorcist to deal with things that normal people cannot handle. After thinking about it, Syaruo explained that exorcist is his own understanding of his profession. It's a liar, just like those who like divination to deceive people. Hearing Syaruo's words, Kudo Shinichi looked at Syaruo contemptuously, as if he didn't expect the other party to do this kind of work. No wonder he couldn't reason it out. In Kudo Shinichi's view, this kind of guy who talks about ghosts and gods is not a good person. If he has the opportunity, he wants to send the liar in front of him to the police station. Zenichi, how can you talk like that? It's so rude. Xiaolan couldn't help scolding Kudo Shinichi when she heard what Shinichi said. Liars. Ordinary people always have such misunderstandings about us, thinking that we are all liars. Syaruo was not angry, she still had a smile on her face, mocking Kudo Shinichi. Naturally, Syaruo wouldn't care. Anyway, it will be easier to have this kid in the future, so let him jump up and down a few times now. Actually, I also know how to do fortune telling and fortune telling. Just now, from a distance, I saw that there are bad evil spirits covering the two of you. If you don't get rid of the evil spirit quickly, bad things will probably happen. Now that Kudo Shinichi is treating him as a liar, Syaruo doesn't suggest really being a liar and giving Kudo Shinichi an impressive prophecy. Ah! Xiaolan was taken aback when she heard Syaruo's words. The corners of Kudo Shinichi's mouth twitched twice. No way, Xiaolan, do you really believe this liar? His blunt deception, even the old lady who went to the supermarket to buy it can't be fooled. It is estimated that in the next step, he will say, I can get rid of the evil spirit on your body, but it will cost a fee to exorcise the evil spirit. Some superstitious people will fall for such a liar in order to feel at ease. Xinyi, how can you say that? Although Xiaolan didn't really believe Syaruo's words, she would not say it directly like Kudo Shinichi. Syaruo smiled, but did not refute. He turned his head to look at Xiaolan. Miss, do you want to try divination? Meeting at the amusement park today is considered fate. I can help you calculate the marriage for free. How about it, do you want to try? Marriage. In fact, Xiaolan also thought that Syaruo was a liar, but when she heard the word marriage, Xiaolan still fell into it unconsciously. She glanced sideways at Kudo Shinichi and nodded. Mr. Syaruo, please help me calculate the marriage. Xiaolan, you actually asked this liar to divination for you, what are you thinking? Kudo Shinichi looked at Xiaolan speechlessly. Anyway, it's free, just calculate it. Xiaolan ignored Xinyi and insisted on letting Syaruo do the divination. To test marriage, you need to read palmistry. Syaruo looked at Xiaolan's palmistry. Of course, he doesn't know how to read palms, but after all, Syaruo's grandmother does this, so Syaruo's procedures and acting skills are pretty good. Miss, your marriage is not good. Syaruo has watched her grandmother work, so her tone of voice has also learned a bit, like a real magic stick. What's wrong? Hearing what Syaruo said, Xiaolan immediately became nervous. Maybe, miss, your future marriage will not be smooth. You and the person you like will have to go through a lot of ordeal. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 243. Hearing Syaruo's divination, Xiaolan frowned. No matter who it is, it will not look good when it hears a divination that is not good for itself. And what the other party said was the result of divination that he least wanted to get. There is a big ordeal with the person you like. Is it hinting that you and Shinichi will separate? Even Xiaolan had some doubts, whether the person in front of her was lying to herself, telling her bad fortune-telling results just to make herself pay and get rid of evil spirits for herself. Syaruo also naturally saw this, and he didn't explain anything. It's just like pretending to be a magic stick, and sometimes it should be stopped. Since Miss doesn't believe my divination, let's say goodbye here first. Maybe we will have the chance to meet again in the future. After finishing speaking, Syaruo left, leaving behind a meaningful smile. Looking at Syaruo's smile when she left, Xiaolan always had a bad feeling. Let's go, Shinichi. Because the result of the divination just now made Xiaolan not very happy, so Xiaolan directly took Kudo Shinichi to the ticketing point of the roller coaster. I just said, Xiaolan, that guy is a liar, divination and so on are all deceptive things. Kudo Shinichi followed closely behind Xiaolan, not afraid of the roller coaster. Although it took some time to communicate with Syaruo, Kudo Shinichi and Xiaolan are still on the same roller coaster as in the original work. On the roller coaster, like the original, a murder happened. A passenger's head has been decapitated on a roller coaster. When she saw the murder case, Xiaolan felt a little abnormal. which might be due to psychological reasons. She always felt that this murder case was just mentioned by the fortune teller just now. Matter. After all, that person just finished divination, and he encountered such a thing. Superstitious things are always easy to arouse other people's associations. After Xiaolan told Kudo Shinichi about her psychological worries, he was ridiculed by Shinichi instead. Xiaolan, do you still remember what the liar said? Isn't murder such a common thing? I sometimes see it once a day, isn't it normal? Is this kind of thing very common? Xiaolan is a little strange. Are murders really common? Ordinary people would probably never see a murder scene in their lifetime. Of course, Xiaolan didn't think about this issue for long. Xiaolan and Shinichi waited for a while, and not long after, police officer Megure brought people to block the scene. During this time, Conan also noticed that Jin was abnormal. After police officer Megure came, Kudo Shinichi identified the murderer through some details of the scene and other evidence. The murderer also went through the same process, crying and knelt down to plead guilty, and then explained his motive for killing. After that, the police praised Kudo Shinichi for a while, and then the case was over. The two left the scene, and Xiaolan was still crying because of the case just now. Xiaolan, don't cry, Shinichi said relaxedly. You're really calm. Xiaolan couldn't help but glanced at Conan. I'm often at the scene, and I'm used to seeing it, and it's still falling apart. You should quickly forget what happened just now. This kind of thing will often happen in the future. After leaving the venue of the roller coaster, the sky had already turned dark, but just as Xinyi was chatting with Xiaolan, Xinyi suddenly found a suspicious man in black sitting behind the roller coaster. Want to catch up? I'm sorry, Xiaolan, you should go home first. Leaving only such a sentence, Shinichi chased after the man in black. Wait a minute, Shinichi. Xiaolan raised her hand to keep Xinyi, Erkang's hand, but the moment she reached out, she found that her shoelace was broken. This is a bad sign. A broken shoelace, a cracked mirror, or a black cat walking by are all bad omens. When Xiaolan looked up, Xinyi had already run far away. At that moment, Xiaolan felt a premonition, an ominous premonition that she would never see Shinichi again. Fortune tellers, homicides, broken shoelaces, and the departed Shinichi. What happened today made Xiaolan more and more uneasy, especially the fortune teller's prediction, which kept lingering in Xiaolan's ears. Xiaoruo didn't actually leave the playground. In fact, he followed Xiaolan and Xinyi all the time, watching this very classic parting scene. Ran's broken shoelaces were present in the original animation. This is a very interesting point. Superstitions such as ominous omens also exist in this world. Xiaoruo touched Tom in her hand, because pets were not allowed in the amusement park, so Tom was always hidden in her clothes by Xiaoruo. Let's go and witness the classic scene where our big detective shrinks, and by the way, I also want to get the shrinking pill. Saying that, Xiaoruo took Tom towards the place where Kudo Shinichi disappeared. Xiaoruo didn't mean to save Shinichi. After all, if Kudo Shinichi didn't become Conan, the story of Detective Conan couldn't unfold. In this way, under the cover of night, Xiaoruo watched this very famous scene with Tom on a high-rise building not far away. The famous detective Kudo Shinichi broke the deal of the black organization, and was knocked down to the ground by Jin. Afterwards, Jin took out a small box from his bosom, and took out a mysterious pill from it, and gave it to Kudo Shinichi. One feed down. After doing all this, Jin left the scene. Tom, go. Xiaoruo let go of Tom in his hand, and let Tom chase in the direction where Jin left. Meow. Tom responded, and with just an eye contact, Tom knew what the master wanted. After a long period of cooperation, Xiaoruo and Tom had become a tacit understanding. And Xiaoruo walked towards Kudo Shinichi, and took out a camera at the same time to record the whole process of Kudo Shinichi's shrinking. If this thing is shown to Xylan at that time, it will probably be a very exciting scene. Meow. Within a few minutes, Tom came back, and after a cute cry, Tom handed a black suitcase into Sioruo's hands. Tom looked at his master, as if wanting to claim credit. Sioruo. If I remember correctly, the pills Jin gave Shinichi Kudo at the time were in a small box. Why did it turn into a black suitcase? Sioruo grinned at the corner of her mouth, and opened the suitcase that Tom brought. As soon as she opened it, Sioruo was dazzled by the stacks of yen in it. 100 million yen. Recommended reading, Red Files 2013. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Miao. Chapter 244. On the other side, the direction the black organization left. Damn. Damn. Where's the money? Where's our money? Jin growled loudly. He had never lost his composure like this before. However, he had never suffered such a big loss. Just in the blink of an eye, the suitcase in his hand disappeared. He didn't even see the figure clearly. Who dares to snatch the money from his hands? Even if someone happened to be robbed on the side of the road, the speed of the other party was too fast, and I didn't even see the figure. Brother, the light here is too dark, and there are no lights around, but if I read correctly, it should be a cat that stole our money, Vodka said, touching his head. Cat? How could it be a cat? Jin roared at the vodka. At this time, Sioruo was also surprised by the 100 million yen in his hand. Inside the black suitcase, stacks of Japanese yen are neatly stacked, all with a face value of 10,000 yuan. Putting so many Japanese yen together is really very visually impactful. Sioruo is also the first to see so many yen at once. 100 million yen. Tom, what did you take? What Conan broke through at that time was a transaction organized by the Black Clothes. The transaction amount was 100 million yen. Now that the 100 million yen has been snatched by Tom, it is estimated that the life of Jin will be difficult. Sioruo didn't expect that she didn't do anything, just cheated of Jin once. It is estimated that even if Jinju was not directly executed, some serious punishment would definitely be indispensable. Sioruo looked at the 100 million yen in his hand and was a little speechless. He meant to ask Tom to get the shrinking pills, and he never thought that Tom would bring back the cash from other people's transactions. Even, Sioruo didn't notice the suitcase just now. His eyes have been shrinking the pills all the time, and only Tom, the money-obsessed cat, focused all his eyes on the other party's cash box. Maybe this cat, when it sees the deal, is ready to rob. You greedy cat? Sioruo grabbed the nape of Tom's neck and placed Tom in front of her. Meow. Tom has an innocent face at this time. He doesn't know what he did wrong. He thinks he shouldn't have comprehended wrongly. The meaning in the master's eyes at that time was to let him rob. Isn't something stolen? Looking at Tom's innocent expression, Sioruo's face softened. You snatched the wrong thing. What I want is medicine, which was brought out by the black organization just now. However, you got the 100 million yen well. Sioruo touched Tom's neck and praised him. How do you spend the 100 million yen that came in vain? Although 100 million yen was obtained, Sioruo did not let go of the pill that made Kudo Shinichi smaller. If you don't get it once, just grab it again. There is no need to talk about benevolence and morality with bad guys like the black organization. After that, Tom went out again, because the black organization didn't go very far, so it didn't take long for Tom to find them. In the second robbery, Tom knocked down Jin head-on, and when Jin fell to the ground, Tom snatched the small box of medicine from Jin, and walked away after snatching it. The movement is so smooth that only a shadow can be seen. Brother, I can see clearly this time, it's really a cat. Vodka shouted, looking at the place where Tom left. His eyes were good, and he could recognize the black shadow as a cat twice. I saw it too, don't just look at it, shoot it for me. Jin was really angry, and was robbed by the cat twice in a row. Regardless of whether there were police patrolling around, he directly took out his pistol, put on the silencer and was ready to shoot. It's just that during the short time he installed the silencer, Tom's figure had long since disappeared. Damn wildcat. Damn. There was a cold light in Chinju's eyes. No, this is not necessarily a wildcat. Maybe someone is behind the scenes. No matter who is behind the scenes and dares to steal my things, they will have to pay a price. This 100 million yen is not so easy to get. Jin's hand holding the pistol has blue veins, which can reflect how angry he is now. But brother, it's so dark around here, we can't even see the patterns on the cat's body, we don't know what kind of cat it is, Vodka couldn't help reminding Jin. At this time, it is absolutely incomparable to match the song Snowflakes Fluttering, North Wind Blowing to the black-clothed organization duo. Tom came back again, this time Tom made no mistake and brought back the shrinking medicine from Jin. Good job, Tom. After complimenting Tom a little, Syaruo took out the box in Tom's hand and looked at it. In this box, it contained the pills that made Kudo Shinichi smaller. A poison that never kills. This pill may be useful at some point. Syaruo put the pill in her portable space. Now Syaruo's portable space has expanded a lot, and it is no longer crowded. As for grabbing 100 million yen, pills, and what will happen to the Jin, Syaruo doesn't care much. The next step is to enter the Maori office. You must join the protagonist's team, but with money, these are not problems. Syaruo has already thought of the next plan in her mind. After that, Syaruo left the scene. Not long after, Kudo Shinichi, whose body had shrunk, also slowly woke up. My body got smaller. The subsequent plot is the same as the original one. Kudo Shinichi found Dr. Ali and explained his identity, but not long after, Kudo Shinichi happened to meet Xiolan, who came to find him. Naturally, Xiolan couldn't let Xiolan know about the small body. Under Xiolan's pressure, Kudo Shinichi changed his name to Edogawa Conan. Here, the prelude to the world of Conan officially kicked off. Later, at the request of the doctor, Xiolan agreed to take care of Conan temporarily. On the way home with Conan, Xiolan still had a trace of worry on her face. Xinyi is gone, and I can't get through the phone. I'm really afraid that something will happen to him. When I was in the amusement park, I met a fortune teller. He reminded us that something bad might happen to us. If I knew it earlier, I would don't let Shinichi leave. Conan didn't expect that Xiolan was still thinking about the liar's words. Sister Xiolan, divination, and the like are all liars, and brother Xinyi might just be busy temporarily, so he's definitely fine now. I hope so. When Xiolan took Conan home, Xiolan found that the fortune teller she saw at the playground today was appearing in the Maori office, and her father had a flattering smile on his face, bent down and entertain each other eagerly. Xiolan, hurry up and pour tea to entertain the distinguished guests. Syaruo smiled at Xiaolan, who had returned, as if to say something. We meet again. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 245. Why are you here, fortune teller? After Xiolan saw Syaruo, the expression on her face was a little surprised, as if she didn't expect to see this person at home. Why, Xiolan, do you know this guest? Mori Kogoro looked at his daughter curiously and asked. Dad, I met Xinyi today at the amusement park, just met him, Xiolan said truthfully to her father. Of course, this passage also reveals that the two are not actually friends. Mao Lilan didn't have a good impression of Syaruo. Whoever asked Syaruo to give such a bad divination result as soon as they met? It turned out to be like this. What a coincidence. Kogoro Maoli was in high spirits at this time, and he danced and pulled Mao Lilan to Syaruo. Xiaolan, let me introduce you. This is a distinguished guest from Huaguo. He is a young and promising talent. He also heard about the fame of my famous detective Mori Kogoro. He came from Huaguo to look for me. Look. Come to think of it, my reputation as Mori Kogoro has spread far and wide overseas, ha 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 ha. Hi, my name is Syaruo. Syaruo did not deny the words of Mori Kogoro, but stretched out her hand to Xiaolan, and introduced herself again. Hi, my name is Mao Lilan. Mao Lilan also shook hands with Syaruo politely. The two just greeted each other, but Mao Lilan glanced sideways at his father. Mao Lilan knew her father very well. Now that her father is so happy, it must be because the other party gave him a high reward. Dad, how much did the other party pay? Xiaolan moved a little closer to Mori Kogoro, and asked in a low voice very discreetly. Because her father has no skills, the Maori office has not opened for half a year now, and even Xiaolan is guessing how long this Maori office can last. Unexpectedly, a big benefactor came today. Haha, don't ask, it's up to the order to see if the Maoli office can turn around. Mori Kogoro narrowed his eyes when he smiled, and looked at Syaruo as if looking at a cornucopia. It seemed that the other party gave him a number that he couldn't refuse. After that, Mori Kogoro continued to entertain Syaruo enthusiastically, and the two suddenly chatted like good friends for many years. Of course, the topic of the chat was Kogoro Mori's bragging, talking about some major cases he had solved, while Syaruo was amazed, and then praised him from time to time. Everyone likes to hear compliments. Syaruo has known this for a long time, so there is no silence between Syaruo and Maoli Kogoro when chatting. At the same time, Syaruo's gaze seemed to be very casual, seeing Conan who was brought by Xiaolan. The eyes of the two collided. Snapped. It was as if sparks had collided. No. This guy. Conan looked at Syaruo who was chatting with Mori Kogoro, his eyes were full of doubts, and Conan had long thought this person was very strange. I met at the playground during the day and met again at the Maori office at night, which is too coincidental. Moreover, the other party's temperament and some actions are like a fog in Conan's eyes, making him completely unable to see through the other party's true identity. The other party is definitely not a fortune teller. Habitually, Conan fell into reasoning mode. This guy is from China, what is his purpose? I have also heard of Uncle Maoli's reputation for reasoning. According to him, why did I hear about Uncle Maoli's reputation? Because the fame of a famous detective came to him. It is impossible. It is definitely a lie. This person must have other purpose. But why did he lie, and what is his purpose? He spent a lot of money, and now I don't know what he asked Uncle Maori to do. Conan was still contemplating, looking for clues that could be used in his mind. He also quietly leaned next to the two of them, eavesdropping on the chat between Mori Kogoro and Syaruo. However, most of the conversations between Syaruo and Mori Kogoro were about Mori Kogoro bragging, which also made Conan very speechless, but the content of the conversation was not always bragging. Soon, the two talked about this commission. It seems that the content of the commission has been discussed before, this time I just confirmed it again. Mr. Syaruo is planning to open a detective agency in China, isn't it? Mori Kogoro asked. Yes, Syaruo nodded with a suitable smile on her face. As I said before, I plan to open an office in Huaguo. Huaguo has a very broad market, but I don't have relevant industry experience. So I came to Japan to learn relevant knowledge, and I just heard about the famous detective Mori Kogoro my name, so I want to learn detective skills here. Haha, Mori Kogoro touched the back of his head and laughed uproariously when he heard Syaruo's words, you really found the right person. In the whole of Japan, you can't find a detective like me. You are so lucky. After that, as long as you watch me work, you will definitely become the #1 detective in China in the future. Syaruo nodded, as if she trusted Kogoro Mori very much. Of course I believe in the strength of the famous detective Mori Kogoro. It's just that I will be disturbed during the study period. I have paid the living expenses before, and I will pay the balance after the study is over. It's okay, my house has a lot of rooms, you can stay as long as you want. Mori Kogoro couldn't close his mouth when he heard the money. But at this moment, the corner of Syaruo's mouth curled up. It only takes 1 year to study. 1 year in Conan's world is equivalent to Conan's first grade to second grade in elementary school, which is definitely a very long time. On the side, Xiaolan was pouring tea for Syaruo. Xiaolan is a little lucky, fortunately. She cleaned up the cigarette butts and wine bottles left by her father when she went to find Xinyi today, otherwise she would definitely leave a bad first impression on the guests. Although she didn't have a good impression of Syaruo at the beginning, Mao Lilan was still very happy to see her father, who had become a little decadent because of no business, was full of spirit again, and was also grateful to Syaruo by the way. There has been no business for half a year, and the arrival of this guest may be a new beginning for the Maori office. Here, the tea is ready. Xiaolan put the freshly brewed tea in front of Syaruo. Miss Maori, please. Ding. Hearing the voices of Xiaolan and Syaruo, a bolt of lightning appeared in the back of Conan's head, and he seemed to connect some important clues. I understand. His goal is Xiaolan. Conan seems to have discovered the truth, and the vague events become clear. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 246. As long as some things are figured out, then some clues can be matched. The other party did some weird things, and also lied in order to enter the Mori office. He must have his purpose, and this purpose cannot be known. In the Maori office, no matter how Conan thinks, the most valuable here is only Xiaolan. Conan has seen through everything. The connection between the amusement park and the Maori office is Xiaolan. She gave Xiaolan a fortune-telling in the amusement park, and now she found Xiaolan's father, and spent a lot of money to stay in the Maori office for a year. The purpose of all this is for Xiaolan. This guy wants to attack Xiaolan and pursue Xiaolan. Reasoning to this point, Conan immediately looked at Syaruo vigilantly, and he had already regarded Syaruo as a rival in love. At this moment, Conan really felt the existence of the crisis. Not to mention, the opponent's mobility is really terrifying. For the sake of the girl, he was able to make such an offensive on the same day, directly breaking into the girl's house, and first Conan didn't even think about the fact that his parents did it. After all, when Conan was in school, the most he saw chasing girls was milk tea and chocolates. However, it was unexpectedly effective to directly target the parents. Seeing Kogoro Mori, who had been coaxed by Syaruo, who was already dizzy, Conan was really scared. Damn it, this guy. Conan clenched his fists. If it was before, Conan would certainly not be afraid of a sudden appearance of a rival, but now he has just encountered some incidents, his body has become smaller, and he has no way to meet Xiaolan. The current situation is already Conan's worst situation. He didn't expect that there would be a rival in love. This is the leak in the house and the night rain. No matter how powerful Ren Conan is in solving the case, he doesn't know what to do now. It's okay, Xiaolan won't fall in love with that kind of guy. Conan comforted himself as if puffed up, but when he raised his head, he found that Xiaolan had been fascinated by the cat in that guy's hand. Wow, what a cute cat, is this cat yours? Xiaolan asked while looking at the cat in Syaruo's hand. It could be seen that Xiaolan liked that cat very much. Girls are always irresistible to cute things. Syaruo touched Tom in her hand and said softly, yes, his name is Tom. He used to be a stray cat abandoned by his owner, but now he is adopted by me. Tom is a very powerful cat. There will be many cats. Skill. Saying that, Syaruo put Tom in front of her. You see, Tom, hold out your left hand. Tom gave Syaruo a supercilious look, but it was used to it, so it raised its little claw and put it in the palm of the owner's hand. Syaruo gave another order, Tom, stretch out your right hand. Tom put the little paw on the right into the palm of the master again. Wow! What a powerful cat, it can understand human speech, it's really smart. Seeing Tom's performance, Xiaolan covered her mouth in surprise, it was the first time she saw such an obedient cat. Do you want to touch it? Okay. Snapped. Looking at this scene, Conan on the side has already collapsed on the ground. He doesn't have a cat that can reach out, and the other party has too many tricks. It's disgusting. There is such a despicable method, Xiaolan is not aware of the other party's plan at all, this guy. Syaruo also saw Conan's reaction from the corner of her eye at this time, and unexpectedly found Conan in this way more interesting. He didn't really want to take action against Xiaolan, after all, Xiaolan really liked Conan, and the previous actions were just Syaruo's habit of using Tom to get closer to girls. Syaruo also waved to Conan. Little friend, do you like kittens? You can come and pet them. Big brother, let me forget it, I don't like cats very much, Conan refused while touching his head, pretending to be like a child. Huh? Where did this child come from? At this moment, Mori Kogora also saw Conan. He had been focusing on the benefactor just now, and he hadn't noticed that there was a sudden addition of a child at home. Dad, this is Conan. Xiaolan explained Conan's origin to Mori Kogora. At this moment, the office's phone rang suddenly, Kogora Mori answered the phone immediately, and after communicating with the phone for a while, he hung up the phone with an excited expression on his face. Today is really a good day. Another commission. This time, the daughter of a rich man was kidnapped. It was a man dressed in black. A man dressed in black. At this time, Conan's spirit was extremely sensitive. When he heard the man dressed in black, he immediately thought of the gin vodka that turned him into himself. My car is outside, let me take Mr. Mao Li to the scene, Syaruo said beside him. In the original novel, Mori Kogora still took a taxi. Since Syaruo is here, there is no need to take a taxi. Then I will trouble you. After saving himself a taxi fare, Kogora Maoli raised his brows happily. He felt that Syaruo was really a nice guy, rich and humble. Later, when going to the scene of the crime, Conan and Xiaolan also squeezed into the car. The kidnapping of the chairman's daughter this time can only be regarded as a very common case in the history of Conan's case. There is almost no difficulty in reasoning, and there are no deaths. It is a bit troublesome to analyze the location of the little girl. Arriving at the scene, Syaruo looked at Conan's obvious search clues, and was surprised that no one really paid attention to him. At the scene of the case, Conan was actively searching for clues, and then lowered his head to contemplate the case. Mori Kogoro was casually pointing out his fingers to identify the criminal, while Syaruo and Xiaolan were quietly watching from the sidelines. Nothing happened. Miss Mao Li, where is the boy who was with you today? Syaruo asked beside Xiaolan. You said Xinyi, he left earlier today, and I haven't found him yet. Xiaolan's tone was a little low when mentioning Xinyi, and until now, she has not contacted Xinyi. Maybe something happened to Mr. Xinyi now. It is estimated that you will not be able to see each other for a while, Syaruo said casually. What? What did you say? Xiaolan immediately raised her head to look at Syaruo when she heard Syaruo's words. Do you know where Xinyi is? Of course I know where Xinyi is, Syaruo said with a smile. Where is he? At this time, Conan had no idea what Syaruo and Xiaolan were talking about. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou. Chapter 247. Of course I know where Shinichi is. Where is he? Conan, what are you doing? At the critical moment when Syaruo and Xylan were talking, Kogoro Maoli suddenly shouted and interrupted their conversation. It turned out that Conan suddenly found a clue, riding a big dog in the courtyard alone, and rushed out of the courtyard to look for the lost little girl, but it was too dangerous for him to go out like a child riding a dog. Xylan, don't stay there anymore, hurry up and chase that dog and Conan. Mori Kogoro shouted to Ran, who was standing beside him. Okay, Dad. Xylan glanced at Syaruo, although there were many things she wanted to ask, but she seemed to have no time now, so Xylan also rushed out to follow Conan's trail. On the other hand, Syaruo stood there quietly. She had arranged for Tom to keep an eye on Conan, so Syaruo was not very worried about Conan's safety. Being at the scene in person, Syaruo also noticed Conan's almost undisguised activity in solving the case, and when there was no hypnotic needle, when Conan reminded Mori Kogoro, it was really obvious to the extreme. It's hard to understand that Conan has not been exposed for more than 1,000 episodes. But this is the world of Conan, with its own worldview setting, and common sense cannot be applied, and Syaruo has nothing to say. At this time, on Conan's side, he was riding a dog looking for the kidnapped little girl alone. The dog that Conan is riding is a large dog raised by a wealthy family. He usually does not get close to strangers, but at this time, Conan uses the dog training techniques he learned in Hawaii to train him to be docile. The reasoning process of this kidnapping case is that Conan deduced the hiding place of the little girl through the robber's phone call. It was learned from the phone that the place where the little girl was kidnapped was a school, and the chimney could be seen. In Conan's mind, all the schools where the chimney could be seen had appeared. Conan, who was riding on the big dog, analyzed all the way, but according to his analysis, he found two wrong places, and it seemed that he had ignored some information. At this moment, Conan suddenly felt his right shoulder sink, as if something had landed on his shoulder. Conan turned his head to look, and suddenly met a pair of big eyes. Meow. Cat? It's Syaruo's cat. How did this cat come here? Conan still remembered that the cat seemed to be called Tom. Although he was a little puzzled as to why the cat had been following him, Conan did not leave it here, but let it stay on his shoulders. Obviously, I have searched for all the chimneys, why can't I find them? Conan was caught in a tangle at this time. Meow. Conan heard the meowing of the cat and looked up at Tom on his shoulder. He found that the kitten stretched out its small paw and pointed to the building not far away. The building? Wait a minute, could it be? Click. It seemed that a bolt of lightning struck the back of Conan's head, and Conan thought of something. What Tom was referring to was not an ordinary building, but a special building. This building only had windows on one side, and the other side was completely dark and narrow. From a distance, it looked like a vertical chimney. That's it? From the side, she sees the building as a chimney. From this angle, the school that can see the building as a chimney is Urkiao Middle School. Finally found the clue, Conan immediately let the dog under him rush towards Urkiao Middle School, but Conan also noticed another strange thing. Conan glanced sideways at the cat on his shoulder. Strange, this cat? It's reminding me. For some reason, Conan suddenly thought of the scene where he had just found the clue and reminded Kogoro Mori. In the school's warehouse, the kidnapper communicated with the rich man again, and made an agreement with the rich man to send the money to the designated location. However, the moment he put down the phone, the kidnapper's eyes revealed a fierce look. Since the business has been negotiated, you have no use value. Holding a dagger, the kidnapper slowly walked up to the little girl. The kidnapper had no intention of leaving the hostage alive. The little girl trembled as she watched the robber slowly approaching her. Meow. At this moment, a cat suddenly appeared in front of the robbers. This cat was Tom, who accompanied Conan, but it was faster than Conan, and arrived here one step earlier. Where did the wild cat come from? The robber wanted to kick away the cat under his feet, but the cat stepped out first, and its small claws seemed to kick lightly on the robber's calf. Click. It seemed that there was a sound of fracture. It is obviously a thin and small cat, but its strength is unexpectedly large and terrifying. Ah! It was a very painful scream. The robber felt like his calf was hit by a hammer, his bones were broken, and his body couldn't help but fell down. Tom grabbed his hand and gave him a shoulder throw. Boom! This could no longer be considered an over-the-shoulder fall, it should have directly grabbed his hand and lifted it up, and fell to the ground. The powerful impact directly made the robber faint. Tom yawned as if relieved. Tom has learned magic in a soup house, and swordsmanship in Ghost Killer. Now he is a superhuman cat, a mere robber, and he really doesn't take it seriously. The tied little girl also looked at Tom in shock, but her mouth was sealed so she couldn't make a sound. Tom took one look at the little girl, and jumped out of a side window. What is this? When Conan arrived at the scene, he found that the robber had fallen to the ground, foaming at the mouth, and he didn't even know who did it. But the hostages are still safe, this is the best news. Conan stepped forward and untied the little girl's rope, and also untied the tape on her mouth. Are you okay? Who are you? The little girl looked at Conan and asked. My name is Kudo, my name is Edogawa Conan, and I'm a detective. Conan slipped his tongue at first, but he quickly changed it back. Conan was curious about the situation at the scene, so he asked the little girl, who saved you? It's Mr. Cat, the little girl said excitedly, it's a very powerful Mr. Cat. Cat? Conan suddenly remembered Tom, who had reminded himself before. On the way here, the other party disappeared. However, how did that cat defeat an adult, and what is the identity of that cat? Conan suddenly became interested in Tom. Soon, Mori Kogora and Xylan also rushed over, the rich man's daughter was safe, and the case was successfully resolved. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 248. The kidnapping case of the wealthy daughter was solved. After the matter was over, Xiaoruo drove everyone back to the Maori office. On the way, Conan fell into deep thought. He was still curious about who was the one who solved the incident and the robbers in the end. He wasted so much reasoning clues along the way, but was preempted by others in the end. Conan didn't like this feeling very much. Although the rich man's daughter said it was a cat, and Tom fit it well, Conan still didn't want to believe that it was a cat that finally solved the problem. Because it's not scientific. How could the intelligence of animals reach the level of humans, let alone surpass a detective like himself? Conan believes that there must be a more reasonable explanation. Conan lowered his head, thinking about the details and clues at that time, trying to deduce the truth. The little girl said that it was Mr. Kitty who saved her, but Mr. Kitty may not really be a cat, maybe it was just a person wearing a cat mask. The little girl was frightened by the kidnapping, so it was more reasonable to say it was Mr. Kitty. Besides, the cat gave me clues. This is a bit too bizarre. It is impossible for a cat to analyze the situation at that time. Compared with the cat finding clues that I did not find, I am more willing to believe that someone ordered the cat to do it behind the scenes. This kind of thing. Thinking of this, the scene where Xiaoruo asked Tom to raise his left and right paws came to Conan's mind. Conan raised his head sharply and looked at Xiaoruo, who was driving ahead. Is it him? Only he can order Tom that way. After I left the courtyard, I don't know what he did. Maybe he saw through the truth when he was in the courtyard, so he was able to save the girl one step ahead. This guy is a real detective. Conan looked at Sioruo's eyes and gradually became serious. The fact that the other party was able to come to the Maori office to join in the same day in order to pursue Xiaolan already showed that the other party was not an ordinary person. Conan lowered his head, analyzing the current situation. If the other party is a detective, those small actions he made on the scene may have been completely seen through, which is why he reminded himself of clues through Tomcat, but Sioruo probably doesn't know that I am Kudo Shinichi. It's so troublesome. Why did the Maoli office come to such a guy? At this time, Conan had made Sioruaneo into a powerful detective hiding in Maori's office, and he didn't know how to deal with the situation in front of him now. At the same time, Xiaolan's heart was also in turmoil. She didn't understand why Xinyi disappeared for no reason, and she didn't know whether it was true what Sioruo said that he knew Xinyi's whereabouts. She was even a little afraid to ask the truth, afraid that Sioruo would give her bad news. Xinyi, where are you? Xiaolan dialed Xinyi's phone number, but there was still no one answering the phone. Back at Maori's office, Xiaolan couldn't wait to find Sioruo immediately, and took him to her room. You said before that you know the whereabouts of Xinyi, is it true? Xiaolan looked into Sioruo's eyes and asked. Of course it's true. Are you unable to contact Mr. Xinyi now? I guess it will be extremely difficult for you to meet him in the future. Sioruo touched Tom in her hand, and then put Tom on the ground. Does Miss Xiaolan want to know the whereabouts of Mr. Shinichi? Sioruo actually didn't understand why Conan didn't tell Xiaolan the truth, so that she couldn't see her beloved. It was really painful for Xiaolan. Even in the end almost everyone knew that Conan was Shinichi. Xiaolan didn't know. There is no need for Sioruo to help Conan keep the secret. You said, why I can't see Xinyi again, what happened to Xinyi? Xiaolan became flustered when she heard Sioruo say this. Although she didn't completely believe in Sioruo, Xiaolan was still flustered when she learned that something might happen to Xinyi. Please tell me what happened to Shinichi. Mr. Xinyi has encountered some bad things, even if you may not be able to accept it, do you still have to know? Sioruo said with a serious expression on purpose. No matter what happens to Xinyi, I can accept it, Xiaolan said. Although she felt something was wrong, her eyes became firm. Actually, Conan is Mr. Shinichi. Sioruo easily revealed the secrets hidden in more than 1,000 episodes of Conan animation. Ah! Conan watched Xiaolan and Sioruo running into a room alone, and they didn't know what to talk about, and they hadn't come out for a long time. Damn it, that guy tricked Xiaolan into it for so long. What did he say? Xiaolan, you must notice that that guy is plotting against you. Conan stared at the room, clenched his fists. I have blue veins. Tom on the side passed by and glanced at it, then ignored Conan and went to the kitchen alone to see if there was anything else to eat. Tom was always able to take care of himself by himself. Not long after, both Sioruo and Xiaolan came out of the room, but Xiaolan's expression was a little strange. Sister Xiaolan, you have been in the room for so long, what did you say to brother Sioruo? Conan asked in a cute Gengtai voice. It's just that Conan found that Xiaolan looked at him a little strangely, as if he had completely seen through himself. Xiaolan squatted down and looked closely at Conan's face. You did a good job solving the case today, Shinichi. Ah! Sister Xiaolan, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Are you talking about brother Xinyi? Is brother Xinyi here today? Conan looked blank, pretending he didn't know anything. The appearance replied. Aren't you Shinichi? Just as Shinichi disappeared, you appeared, Xiaolan said while rubbing Conan's face. Sister Xiaolan, you misunderstood me. How could I be brother Shinichi? Conan still refused to admit it. In fact, in the original work, Xiaolan realized Conan's true identity several times, but every time he was fooled by Conan. This is also a very strange thing. It can only be said that the will of this world does not allow Xiaolan to know the new identity. Identity of. Just like this time. Because of Sioruo's spoiler, Conan's identity is about to be exposed, and the plot line of this world is about to be deflected. After a while, the phone of Maury's office rang. "Hi, this is Mori's office." Mori Kogora answered the phone, then frowned, and looked in Xiolan's direction. "Xiolan, it's Shinichi's call." "What? Shinichi?" Xiolan looked at Conan in her hand, then at the direction of the phone, and finally went to answer the phone. "Xiaolan, I heard that you are looking for me." On the other side of the phone, it was indeed Shinichi's voice. "Xinyi, you're fine, I knew." When Xiolan heard Shinichi's voice at this time, she immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Xiolan now wondered if the fortune teller made a mistake and Conan was not Shinichi. That's right, how could there be such a bizarre thing? After Xiolan answered the phone, she immediately gave up her doubts about Conan. "Xinyi, when are you coming back? I have some cases to deal with recently, and it may take a while," explained Shinichi on the other side of the phone. In fact, Dr. Ali was on the other side of the phone. Because he was worried that Xiolan would be worried about Shinichi's disappearance, he used a voice changer to call Xiolan, which also solved the crisis of Xinyi by the way. Conan watched the crisis pass safely, and wiped off his sweat. "Fine. Sioruo, did you miscalculate? Conan is not Shinichi. I just received a call from Shinichi." Xiolan found Sioruo after the incident. "If you don't believe me, I'll show you a video and you'll know," Sioruo said, taking out a video recorder. "I can break the dimensional wall." Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 249. Video. Xiolan didn't know what Sioruo was going to show her, but out of curiosity, she still took the video camera that Sioruo handed to her. The video camera had already been turned on, and it seemed that something was playing in it. Of course, the camera is what Sioruo recorded on the day Conan became smaller, but Sioruo took it from a high place in the distance, and the effect of the video is a bit like a surveillance camera on the street. "This is Shinichi." Xiolan immediately recognized that the one in the video was Kudo Shinichi, who had left on a date that day. He was wearing the same clothes. Judging by the weather, it should be that Shinichi had just left her not long ago. It's just that Shinichi at this time seemed to be knocked out and fell to the ground. Xiolan found that around Xinyi, there were two men in black who looked bad at first glance. At this moment, in the video, one of the men in black took out a gun and pointed it at Xinyi, as if he wanted to shoot, but was caught. Another tall man in black stopped him. Seeing the man in black draw out his gun, Xiolan felt her body break out in a cold sweat. Although the man in black didn't shoot at the end, the tall man in black seemed to have given Xinyi something to eat, and then the two left the scene. "How is Shinichi now? What happened? Who are those men in black?" Xiolan raised her head and looked at Sioruo. Her tone was a little anxious. "Mr. Xinyi is fine, just keep reading," Sioruo said very flatly. Although Xiolan had many questions she wanted to ask, she continued to read. Soon, a bizarre scene appeared on the video. Kudo Shinichi's body gradually became smaller. After a while, Shinichi woke up. When he slowly stood up, the original Kudo Shinichi had become the appearance of a child. That child is exactly the same as Conan without glasses. Ah! Seeing this scene, Xiolan couldn't help covering her little mouth. This scene was really shocking. An adult's figure turned into a child. This kind of thing has never been heard before. Even if such a bizarre thing is told, no one will believe it. Xiolan put down the camera in her hand, and murmured in a low voice, "Xinyi is actually Conan. Why did he become like this, and what happened? Why didn't he tell me?" Xiolan's mind is in a mess now, because her childhood sweetheart has suddenly become a child, and such things are beyond her comprehension. Although Xiolan didn't know what happened, she knew that Xinyi must be in big trouble now. Mr. Xinyi may have his own considerations in not telling you the truth. Xiaoruo took back the camera that Xiaolan had put down. As far as I know, Mr. Xinyi became like this because he saw a transaction by the black organization, and Mr. Xinyi didn't tell you the truth. I'm afraid it was to hide his identity and fear the revenge of the black organization. Black organization? What is the black organization? What do you know, please tell me. There was a hint of pleading in Xiaolan's tone. If she wants to help Xinyi now, she must know what happened to Xinyi. But she also knew that even if she went to find Xinyi directly, Xinyi would not tell her the truth, and would even pretend to be stupid for her, refusing to admit her identity. If he wanted to know the truth, he probably had to go through Xiaoruo in front of him. Xiaoruo is very mysterious in Xiaolan's eyes, and she doesn't seem to have any malicious intentions, so Xiaolan still has a good impression of Xiaoruo, thinking that he is not a bad person. Xiaoruo found a place to sit down. I just encountered this kind of thing by chance. The black organization you asked about is actually a very dangerous transnational criminal organization. I have dealt with the black organization before. This time, I happened to meet Mr. Shinichi in an accident. But I suggest that you don't reveal Mr. Shinichi's identity yet. Why? Xiaolan asked, puzzled. According to the information I got, in the video, those black organizations fed Mr. Xinyi a poison named APS 4869. After killing people, the composition of this poison cannot be detected, but because of some unknown the reason, this poison did not kill Mr. Shinichi, but made him smaller. Having said that, Xiaoruo paused. Mr. Xinyi probably thinks that if he is not dead, and the news that he is still alive is found out by the black organization, I am afraid that the other party will come to him to silence him. This is a danger to him and the Maori office. That's why he concealed his identity. Xiaolan still didn't understand a little bit. Then why can't you call the police? If you call the police, you will definitely be able to find the shadow organization faster and get the antidote faster. Xiaoruo shook her head. Xiaolan still thought too simply. It is impossible to report to the police. The black organization is a deep-rooted transnational organization. The Japanese police already know about it, and there are still undercover agents in the black organization. However, there may be members of the black organization among the Japanese police. If call the police, Conan who is exposed will be in danger instead. How come? Hearing what Xiaoruo said, Xiaolan realized how terrible the black organization is, and also understood Conan's current situation. At this time, Xiaoruo has already told Xiaolan everything, and she has been hiding thousands of episodes of secrets from Xiaolan, so Xiaoruo told it out. It's just that after Xiaoruo finished speaking, Xiaolan slowly regained her composure, or rather, she suppressed her emotions. For this, Xiaoruo was not surprised. Xiaolan herself is not a fragile little girl. In Conan's worldview, Xiaolan is also considered a good combat power. In Xiaoruo's impression, Xiaolan's fists can easily break tables, smash telephone poles, and save people by grabbing the broken windows of a high-speed car, shaking her head to avoid bullets, and other superhuman operations. Xiaolan is definitely not a base heroine. So it is like this, Xiaoruo, you know so much information about the black organization, and you can analyze so many things. You are still from China, are you an Interpol? Xiaolan raised her head and looked at Xiaoruo, asked. My identity is a secret. Anyway, I'm not a bad person, Xiaoruo neither admitted nor denied. Hearing what Xiaoruo said, Xiaolan didn't continue to ask. Just like what Xiaoruo said, if he is really a bad guy, the exposed Xinyi is already in danger. No matter what Xiaoruo's identity is, he is absolutely impossible to be on the side of the black organization. I get it. In short, Xinyi's situation is very dangerous now, and his identity cannot be revealed. I probably understand. Before Xinyi tells me his identity, I will not expose him. Xiaolan put her hand on her face and wiped it, as if she was wiping away her tears. As long as I know that Shinichi is still safe, I am satisfied. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 250. In the original animation, Xiaolan waited for Shinichi Kudo for a long time. How long? Xiaoruo remembers a joke. Watching Conan animation, I have always regarded it as Mao Li's brother from Uncle Mao Li. Although in Conan's worldview, it seems that even a year has not passed, but it is definitely a very long year. After not seeing each other for so long, Xiaolan has not changed her mind towards Shinichi, and has been waiting for Shinichi's return. In the end, many people around Conan knew the identity of Shinichi, but Xiaolan was still kept in the dark. In the drum. The one you love is by your side, but you don't know it. There is even a classic segment in which Xiaolan asked Conan whether he liked Haibara or Ayumi. If it was really hidden for so long and finally learned the truth, then the truth would be too cruel to Xiaolan, so Xiaoruo didn't hide it and told Xiaolan the truth directly. After all, he was the Xinlan party in his previous life. Of course, Xiaoruo said before that for Conan's safety, she didn't want Xiaolan to expose Conan, but she also felt that Xiaolan made Conan think that she didn't know that Conan was Shinichi. This setting is quite interesting. Two people concealing each other is much better than Xiaolan being deceived by herself. At this moment, Xiaolan was still thinking about something. Shinichi, no, I won't expose Conan's identity now, Conan's safety comes first. I will not let him know that I know the truth, and if Conan knows that I know the truth, he will probably worry about me, and I also want to help him secretly. Xiaolan seems to know Conan very well. The corner of Xiaoruo's mouth twitched. Help him? That's right, it's too difficult to fight against the black organization with Conan alone now, and I also want to help secretly. Xiaolan looked at Xiaoruo eagerly at this time. Conan is now pretending to be a fool and hiding his identity to fight against the black organization in the dark. Xiaolan feels that she can also pretend not to know and protect Conan in the dark. You are fighting against the black organization, can I join you? I am very good. I have won the karate champion here, and my father is a detective. I will never hold back. As she said that, Xiaolan swung two punches, and the wind was blown in the air. You think too much, I'm not interested in the black organization, I'm just interested in strange and mysterious things, Xiaoruo shook her head and said. In Xiaoruo's eyes, the cursed aura of the elementary school students is a mysterious thing. You're lying, you know so much, and I think Conan doesn't know as much as you do. Xiaolan seemed to have noticed this from the conversation just now. Please let me join you, let me be your assistant, let's fight against the black organization together. I reject. Although Xiaoruo refused, Xiaolan kept pestering Xiaoruo, wanting to fight against the black organization with him. In the end, Xiaoruo had no choice but to agree. Let nature take its course, you will definitely meet the black organization in the future, anyway, nothing will happen if you are there. Hearing that Xiaoruo agreed, and knowing so much bad news, Xiaolan finally felt better. Since then, Xiaolan has been by Xiaoruo's side all the time, asking for information about the organization in black, and Xiaoruo has not concealed it, but the organization in black is indeed quite mysterious, and Xiaoruo doesn't know much about it. At most, I just told Xiaolan that the members of the black organization like to use wine to name them, and there are some scattered information. By the way, Xiaoruo, I received a call from Shinichi before, why? Xiaolan still didn't understand why Conan was Shinichi, and she could still receive a call from Shinichi. Obviously when he was answering the phone, Conan was right in front of him. It's simple. A voice changer can do it. I remember that Dr. Ali is a friend of Mr. Shinichi. For Dr. Ali, a voice changer is not difficult to solve. Xiaoruo didn't mind Xiaolan exposed Conan's tricks in front of her. Oh. Xiaolan suddenly realized. Conan, this guy actually came up with such a way to lie to me. Xiaoruo smiled. Not only that, Conan's mother is a master of disguise. In this world, there are many people who are good at disguise, so, in the future, you may be able to see it in front of Conan with your own eyes. It might be possible to see a Xinyi, but in fact these are all fake. Hearing what Xiaoruo said, Xiaolan was already in chaos. There are too many routines in this world. Xiaolan realizes that she is too simple, but fortunately, Xiaoruo knows a lot. In Xiaolan's eyes, Xiaoruo seems to have almost nothing she doesn't know. Mr. Xiaoruo, keep talking, I'm listening. Xiaolan looked at Xiaoruo with a serious face. Xiaoruo. After Xiaolan knew Conan's identity, her attitude towards him actually changed slightly, but because Xiaolan had to pretend not to know, the change was not that great. It's just that it's impossible to take a bath together. But Conan has been a little uneasy recently, because he always feels that there seems to be a special meaning in the eyes of Xiaolan looking at him. It was as if his identity had been discovered. I guess I was overthinking it. The doctor used the voice changer to call Xiaolan before. She shouldn't have noticed. No, I will use the voice changer to call Xiaolan at night. In the evening, Conan used Shinichi's voice to call Xiaolan again, and finally heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that nothing unusual happened. It seems that I was thinking too much. Xiaolan didn't find anything. On the other side of the phone, Xiaolan, who hung up the phone, looked towards Conan's room. Dead Conan, I want to see when will you tell me the truth. Now that Xiaoruo has received several rewards, the flow rate between worlds can reach 16:1, so it doesn't matter how long she stays in Conan. Xiaoruo also lay dead in the Maori office. To be honest, the Maori office does not have any business, and staying here is like a vacation. During this period of time, Conan, a black family, was inexplicably arranged by Dr. Ali to go to school, and at the same time, he also got to know the friends of the boys' detective team. One day, Xiaoruo, who was lying in the corpse, suddenly had a flash of inspiration and thought of something. Xiaoruo returned to her room, took out the APS 4869 poison she snatched from Jin, threw it into her mouth and ate it. Well, just like a regular pill. Not long after, Xiaoruo felt that there seemed to be a power changing her body. After Xiaoruo felt that the power was not dangerous, she ignored it. Soon, Xiaoruo's body began to change and shrink. In just a moment, Xiaoruo turned into a little Genkai who looked like only a first grader. It's a miracle drug. Xiaoruo sighed in admiration. The drug research in Conan's world is considered to be very powerful. Xiaoruo seems to be wondering if she can recruit some scientists back in the future. Of course, Xiaoruo didn't really want to get smaller. The power of reality on Xiaoruo soon filled her whole body, as if a light flashed, and Xiaoruo's body slowly returned to its original shape. Things in the fantasy world cannot affect Xiaoruo. Of course, it is impossible to help Conan recover. If Xiaoruo uses the power of reality on Conan, maybe he can directly surpass Conan. After a few days of idleness, a case finally came to the door, and it was a big star, Yoko Okino. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 251. Another day without a case. Xiaoruo and Tom were lying on the sofa in the Maori office playing with their mobile phones, and Conan didn't know where he was doing. It also looks boring. Xiaoruo is in the Maori office, as if he is on vacation, saying that he is here to learn detective skills, but when there is no case, he will not learn from Mori Kogora. What he is best at is lying on the sofa like a salted fish. Mori Kogora also saw through it, thinking that Xiaoruo was just the son of a wealthy family in Hwagyo, who came to Japan for fun, and probably came to find him because he felt the excitement of solving the case. Syaruo looked at Conan, who was in a daze, and for some reason, she just wanted to tease him. Conan, I heard that you are very popular in your class. There is a little girl named Ayumi who has been following you. Is it true? Not at all, Conan quickly waved his hand in denial. When Conan mentioned this matter, he felt a little headache. He didn't expect that he really had to go to school like a child, and he was entangled by a few children in the school. It was really troublesome. Even if Conan ignored those children would still stalk them. At this moment, outside the Mori office, Ayumi, Genta, and Mitsuhiko, members of the boys' detective team, also came near the Mori office. Look, that's Conan's home, we must let Conan be our friend today, Ayumi said, looking at the Mori office. Ayumi is the one who is most interested in Conan. It may be that Conan's sense of maturity that is different from ordinary children has attracted her. Okay, let's go, Yuan-Tai shouted. Wait a minute, look, that person is. Mitsuhiko noticed something, and pointed in the direction of Mori's office with his finger. At this time, a car stopped in front of Mori's office, and a tall woman with a hat got out of the car, but for some reason, the other party seemed to be a little cautious. Ding dong. The doorbell of the Mori office suddenly rang, but today's sky was dark, and the Mori office was closed, and Mori Kogoro never thought that someone would come at this time. Mori Kogoro sloppily walked over to open the door. Who is it? After opening the door and seeing the people outside the door clearly, Kogoro Mori stepped back abruptly, with an expression of disbelief, as if he saw a ghost. Miss Okino Yoko, it's really Miss Okino Yoko. When Xylan heard the voice, she also walked over. She also saw clearly that it was indeed Yoko Okino on TV. Really, why would an idol come to our house? Syaruo also looked in the direction of Yoko Okino curiously. Yoko Okino is a well-known idol in the world of Conan and a star admired by Kogoro Mori, who has appeared many times in subsequent cases. Syaruo took a look, and she was indeed a beauty with a relatively good temperament. After Yoko Okino came in, she finally said, "Hi, I have something to ask the famous detective." At this time, within a few seconds, Mori Kogoro had changed into a suit and reappeared on the scene in a very handsome pose. Watching Mori Kogoro change clothes in a second, Conan and Xylan both seemed a little speechless. Afterwards, Okino Yoko stated the purpose of coming here. Recently, Yoko Okino felt that she was being followed, and there seemed to be signs of someone invading her home, so she wanted to ask Mori Kogoro to find the stalker who followed her and investigate the matter secretly. What? Someone is stalking Ms. Yoko Okino? Don't worry, my detective Mori Kogoro will definitely catch that stalker. Mori Kogoro patted his chest and assured. Thank you very much, Okino Yoko thanked Mori Kogoro after hearing what he said. A stalker? Syaruo tilted his head beside him. Although there were too many episodes of Conan and he had forgotten most of the plots, he still watched a few episodes when he crossed over. This case is the content of the previous episodes, so Syaruo naturally remembers it. What's more interesting is that this was originally a case of catching a stalker. Then when Conan went to investigate, he found that the person died directly, and the case suddenly rose to a homicide. The last case was easily solved by Conan. It was not a difficult case, and the deceased was not killed, but committed suicide. The cause of death was only a misunderstanding. In short, that person died quite unjustly. Syaruo always felt that the deceased in this case was infected by Conan's aura of death, otherwise how could it be so coincidental that when Conan went, he just found the body? Because he was going to investigate, Mori Kogoro followed Ms. Okino Yoko to the place where she was. He also brought Xylan and Conan with him, so Syaruo naturally wouldn't miss it. But when going there, Syaruo sensed that someone seemed to be hiding in Miss Okino Yoko's trunk. Are you a kid from the detective boys? You're so bold, you deserve to be them, Syaruo still chose to pretend not to know. The subsequent plot was exactly as Syaruo had imagined. Obviously, he just went to Yoko Okino's house to see if there were any clues, but the moment he opened the door, Yoko Okino let out a scream. "Ah! What happened, Miss Yoko Okino?" Everyone rushed into the room, and at this moment, a corpse appeared in Yoko Okino's room. Someone was killed. Seeing the corpse, the corners of Syaruo's mouth twitched. A living person died like this, and the death was a bit too casual. It feels more casual to die in the world of Conan than in Inuyasha and Ghost Slayer. Although I know this kind of thing will happen, but when I feel it personally, I still feel a little scary. As long as I follow Conan, this kind of thing that opens the door and encounters a corpse is absolutely indispensable. The boy detective team who followed were also screamed in fright. "Don't touch the scene yet, I'll call the police," Mori Kogoro commanded immediately. Because of the death, the surroundings became a little silent. No one expected to encounter such a thing. Because Yoko Okino was the first to see the corpse, her body was still trembling. For a girl, this kind of incident of opening the door and encountering a corpse may leave a shadow in the future. At this time, before the police came, Conan looked at some details of the scene and searched for clues. He didn't feel the slightest fear even though the corpse was next to him. He didn't look like a primary school student at all. This is a secret room. How did the murderer do it? Conan fell into solitary reasoning, ignoring others. After Xylan knew Conan's identity, she could understand Conan's actions. "Mr. Syaruo, isn't it too conspicuous for Conan to do this? It feels like his identity is easily exposed. Should I stop him, Teacher Syaruo? Teacher Syaruo?" When Xylan turned her head, she found that Syaruo, who was by her side just now, had disappeared.